In this video, we're going to implement a program that is requested by Principal Skinner. This is a program into which an integer is entered, which is a percentage grade that's rounded off to the nearest integer, and the result is a grade. So we need to know what's going on here. What are the specifications? So when you write a program like this, you're generally going to talk to somebody who's not a programmer, and you're going to ask them what they want. Okay, so in Springfield Middle School, here's what happens. A is 90 plus. A B is 80 to 89 inclusive. Oh yes, come on. Now B, let's go for C. Let's go for capital C here. Grades are always capital letters. D, okay, now B is 80 to 89. And we're going to run on a 10-point scale here. So this is 7, 6, oh, come on. All right, and then this is 6. I should have done this with substitute. And then, here's a catch. F, okay, is less than 60. Now, that gives you the letter portion of the grade. Now, the other portion of the grade has a letter, so we are documenting this fact. Yes. Stupid cap locks key. But it also has a modifier, which is a plus or minus. Now, here's what is spec'd by the principal at the school. We ask him, well, he's the client, so we ask him, how do we want to do this? And he's going to tell us that if the second digit is a 2 or lower, that case yields a minus. So 72, for example, would be a C minus. Minus. If the second digit is 8 or higher, that's going to give us a plus. Otherwise, there is no modifier. All right. Now, the other rule is F has no modifier. And in your discussions with Principal Skinner, you learn that occasionally a student gets extra credit and they get 101. What should their grade be if they get 101? It's higher than a 99, and so that should be an A+. So watch out for the A+. If the grade is greater than 100. Okay. So now we have a pretty complete specification. We've talked to the principal, we know what he wants, and that's the first step in developing your program. Now what your output is going to be, you know what it's going to be. It's going to be something like B+. Okay, that's going to be your output, or C, depending on what grade the student obtains. Now we can see that there are two distinct chores in here that need to be done. Job one is get the letter grade. And when you think about this, this is where you begin to think, hey, I think I could use a function to do that. Okay, so one function will get the letter grade. That way we don't have a fork with a zillion tines in it. It cuts down on the size of the fork. Job number 2. Calculate the modifier. And then what we'll do is we'll have a function that computes the grade by calling the function that gets the letter grade and then concatenating that result to the modifier. So the letter grade will be a 1-character string. The modifier will be a 1-character string or possibly an empty string if there's no modifier. So now we have a grasp on what's happening here, and we can begin to write our function out. Now what I'm going to do, for the sake of sanity here, is, I have all this stuff here. I'm just going to take it all and comment it out. I'm going to use handy dandy Vim, visual mode, and I'm just going to put $. Oh, this is just a text document. In fact, why don't I do this? This is our requirements document. All right, later I'll get rid of those comments. And I'm just going to go into skinner.py. And I'm going to read this thing in, okay? And that way, as we go along, we can get rid of things as we make them happen. So we can see here, the first thing we need to do is get the letter grade. So to do that, we're going to use straightforward, clean, conditional logic. Okay? That's what we're going to do. So, we're going to write something called letter grade. And I'll call my parameter average here. Okay? So, I can see here how the letter grades work. If the average is greater or equal to 90, we're just going to return an A. Okay? So if the student got a 90 or higher, their average is an A. Remember, this grade is an integer. It's already been rounded, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay? So if the average is greater or equal to 90, A. Elif if the average is greater or equal to 80, let's return a B. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a little copy paste here to save myself some work. 70. All right. And 60. And I'm going to say this is C. And this is D. All right. And otherwise, turn F. Okay. So here's my letter grade. My letter grade gives me an A, B, C, D, or F. And that's a fairly straightforward thing. But what's not straightforward is we have to watch out with the modifier. And we made a couple of notes with the principal. Well, first of all, we know the second digit's 2 or higher, or 2 or lower, it's a minus. If it's 8 or higher, it's a plus. Otherwise, there's no modifier. But F has no modifier. And then there's this thing. Watch out if the grade is greater than 100. Okay? In that case, we already know that letter grade is going to assign an A. So if the grade's greater than 100, we can go ahead and say that the modifier is a plus. So now we're going to produce the modifier. That's the next step. Okay? So I'll put that function right here among all these comments. And now, we have a requirements document, so we don't need this anymore. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. All right? But you know what we'll do? We'll come up here and do this. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Hey, let's go ahead and just write a little docstring here. All right. Okay, that's school jargon, 10-point scale, okay? So, precondition, the average is an integer derived by rounding the grade, all right? And why don't I just say to the nearest whole number? All right, post condition, there you go. And that completely describes the function. And since I have a triple quoted string here, it's okay for me to do this. All right. So now we have that set up. We know exactly what it does. So if two different programmers were working on this, one programmer could write the letter grade, and another programmer, independent of the first programmer, could write the modifier function. So now let's compute the modifier. We have the letter grade, so now we're going to do the modifier. Okay. And again, it depends on the average. And note that the two functions have separate scopes, so that average is a property, it's a variable that belongs in the private symbol table of modifier. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. We have to watch out for the A plus trap. So we're just going to say this. If average is greater than 100, return plus. In fact, we can even make things nice and clean here, because we could also say or. Okay, we're using the Boolean or operator. Oh, how do we get the last digit of a number? You've probably forgotten this by now. But if you go average mod 10, if you divide by 10 and compute the remainder, that's the last digit. And if that's greater or equal to 8, turn a plus. Okay, so if the average is greater than 100, or the average mod 10 is greater or equal to 8, return a plus. Now, if you want to be kind of picky here, let me tell you something. This is going to be a much more common event than this is. So what I'm going to do, seemingly trivial sort of thing, but this can make a difference if you're computing a lot of averages. It's going to be rare for the average to be greater than 100. So if the average is greater or equal to 8, which is going to occur majority of the time, it's going to return a plus, and we're never going to see this. We'll only see this under very exceptional circumstances. So here we're taking smart advantage of short circuiting, okay? And we're optimizing a little bit without compromising the readability of this code. It's pretty plain what it's doing. Now, so we've taken care of the A plus trap. Now, what's the other case we have to worry about? We have to worry about F. Elif. If the average is less than 60, let's just return an empty string. Okay? We could do some ORing in here, but let's try to keep it simple. So we've taken care of the plus case. We've taken care of this case, which is the failing case. Next, we'll take care of the minus case. Okay, if the average is mod 2 or mod 10 is less than or equal to 2, minus. See, if we hadn't have done this up here, and a student got 101 average, they get an A minus. This prevents that because if the average is greater or equal to 100, the rest of the tines in this fork are ignored. So you're covered. You're not going to get that angry phone call. Finally, what's left? The student is not failing. Okay, they're not failing because if they were, we'd be done here. We're talking about what's our status down here. The student has not earned a plus. The student has not earned a minus. So what is left for us to do? Okay, else return empty string. Okay, so we now have the modifier. Okay, so we've got a little trickiness in here. Now, we think our code is solid. It's true, but we're going to test every case because we want to make darn sure that when this software goes to the principal and it's being used to compute grades, that we're okay. Okay, so we did job 1 and job 2, and let's go ahead and write the pit conductor because that thing is trivial to write. What do? Very easy. You return the letter grade of the average plus, and we're concatenating strings here. Okay, and bam. There's our device that computes our letter grade. Okay. Now let's go ahead and say something in here. Okay. Average is rounded to the nearest integer. All right. It gives a plus if the second digit is 8 or higher. A minus is 2 or lower. Gives an empty string if the student is failing. All right, it gives a plus if $100. All right, and I shouldn't say gives, I should say returns. Let's do that to make it correct. Yes, okay, that looks much better. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of cosmetic-y things. All these subsequent lines down here. Oh, where'd it go? I just disappeared. Okay, here I am. I'm going to yank them over. I'm going to use my good old friend visual mode. Control V. All right. So this explains exactly what modifier does. So the user knows what it does. All right. Okay. Nearest integer. Yes, documentation sometimes is a little repetitive. To Springfield. We'll just put that in there. Okay. So grade is the pick conductor. It finishes. In fact, there's no reason that you really need to call either of those other two functions directly, because grade does the whole thing all at once. Okay, now so now let's go ahead and write tests to make sure that our application, that our function is working correctly. So to that end, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to say average is, say 102. I'm going to make a template like I usually do. And what I'll do here is I'm going to say print case average, all right, colon, and then I'm going to say yes, grade is equal to A plus. All right, bingo. And I better make this a format string. And I'm going to go ahead and just check this one out. I'm going to run the program on this one case. And if I like it, I'll just copy paste it and build all the rest of the cases. Now we've written a lot of code and have not been running. Ooh. No. So I see. Now, all right, what have we got here? Print case average. Oh, I'm missing a curly brace. Let me go back in there. See, so it pays to test things before you cut loose on them. And you can see here that I forgot the curly brace over here, which actually is going to go all the way over here. And if this thing says true, that indicates that case passed. Okay, we could write pass or fail, but nah, that's more work. Let's try that again. Oops. Oh, we have something else going on here. Print. Okay. It's telling me I have a missing delimiter. grade of average. Let me see that error again. You get to see me debugging. Oh, let's see. F string, line 1. Oh, what is the problem? Let's see. Okay. Let me go up to line 1. Telling me I have a, no, that's not where it is. Let me check all my, this is the only format string that's here. Okay, case, that opens, closes. Opens, closes. Okay, and that closes. So why am I getting a, come on. Unexpected end of file. All right, it says grade of average. Wait a minute. Let me just do this. I'm just going to run this much and see what the heck is going on here. Oh, come on. Make sure the problem isn't somewhere else. Okay, that's it, case 102. All right, that worked. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say open curly brace, grade of average, double equals. Oh, I see what the problem is. It's a quote problem, and this is an interesting problem. You want to be aware of it. Inside, so Python strings can be enclosed with single or double quotes. And so what I need to do is use single quotes inside so I don't get this problem. It's kind of a little linguistic annoyance. And there we go. Okay, so we have that problem solved. And now you've seen something that can bedevil you. So okay, and I'm gonna paste it a bunch of times. So average, let's say average is 99. All right, that should be an A+. Average 95. That should be a flat out A. All right. And you can add in border cases too, if you wish. In fact, that's a good little exercise. Figure out what the border cases are and add them in. I'm going to get most of the cases. Say 90. Yeah, let's put 90 in there. There's a border case. All right. Okay, there's A plus, A minus. You know what I'm going to do? I'm even going to be smarter here. Let me erase these. And I'll show you a nice little editor trick. Watch this. I'm going to copy all this. Yank. All right. And I'm going to paste it 3 times. All right. Oops. What did I do? Oh, I got this average is 102 in here, and I don't want that. Let me do that again. So I'm going to get this, yank it, paste it 3 times, 3P. All right. Now I'm going to search for 9. All right. And I'm going to change it to an 8. All right. And then I'm going to change this to 7. All right. And I'm going to change the A's to B's. And this is my friend Dot here that I'm using. And now I'm going to change the A to a C. Oops. That should be, oh, wait a minute. What happened here? Oh my goodness. Oh, this is A minus. I'm off by 1. That's the problem. Come on. All right, I'm off by 1. B, B plus. This is B minus here. All right. And these A's here, I'm going to be bold and do this. I think I can get away with it. Hey, look at that. Okay. And then let's see. Oh, I have one more here. All right. I'm going to change that to a 6. All right. And this is going to be a good old D. Okay. D plus. D. And then good old D minus. Come on. Okay. And then finally we'll throw one in for an F. 2YY. Let's say this poor kid got a 50 as an average. Let's see what happens to him. And we have to make sure that he gets an F, not a D minus. And close that single quote. All right. And look at that. All of our cases pass. All right. You might want to subject this to even more rigorous, make sure that you're getting all the border cases, but you can see the general idea. We've produced something that Principal Skinner can now rely on to create grade averages. And one final touch we might do here is do this. We'll come down here and we'll say to teacher, okay, equals input all right, so we'll get that average and we'll go ahead and do this. We'll try. All right, and that way, you know, accept. And then once we do this, we'll just say print right? We'll just and it's a good idea to echo back to the user what he said. It's not a bad idea. That way he knows, you know, it's an affirmation. That's a user experience thing. It's an affirmation that the user typed in the right thing and things are going to be okay. All right. And then down here, we know a value error is the type of error that's going to get thrown. Entry. All right. And I'm just going to quit when that happens. And let's make sure we spell average right. This is a school after all. All right. So all right. So now our test code is still there, and we're going to leave it there. So I'm going to enter in an integer like 89%, and that student got a B+. So this concludes the Principal Skinner case study, and as a demonstration of conditional logic being applied to a real problem.